I had like creative aspirations, but it was never like strong enough that it was like, oh, I want to be an artist when I grow up. I think as a kid, like I probably said like, oh, I want to be an artist, but that's when you're like 5 and jobs are just like vague descriptions of like things that people do. I think after that I wanted to become an astronaut. Although there was a time in middle school where I did want to be a DJ because I had like a little like turntable kit that my dad got me.
That was the voice of my roommate, D. Peters. A few weeks ago, we had a conversation about our childhoods and our differences when it came to creative aspirations and how they manifested into our adult lives. While Dee didn't become an astronaut or a DJ, they still flex their creative muscles in their adult life by writing campaigns and creating characters for their D&D group as a dungeon master.
It's definitely a great outlet because at its core you're just writing a story for your friends to take part in. And even though I don't consider myself like a writer, like you are writing like your own narrative, you're making your own characters, and it's lots of fun and it's a great thing to just do, especially when I'm bored. I just look at like ideas. It's so fun.
Through our conversation, Dee shared that they fortunately had a great support system in their parents for their creative endeavors growing up.
I remember one thing. I was very motivated as a kid to make stop motion videos to put on YouTube, and I think I deleted them all. But I did have a few that I put up, and I would just set it to like Daft Punk songs or something. Not because it lined up with it, but just because I wanted to put music over my really bad Lego stop motion videos. I think my parents were very good at like encouraging stuff like that. I did really well in school, and I think most like parents' reactions to that are like to just continue focusing on like getting good grades and whatnot. But my parents were very, I don't know, they liked to let me just like flesh out ideas and stuff and to just be a creative kid.
They told me that a lot of their creativity was actually encouraged by their father, Nate, who harnessed his own childhood creativity by becoming an established video game developer.
My name is Nate Peters. I'm a indie game developer. I develop retro games for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was always kind of a childhood dream to try and make a video game myself. And growing up with the old systems, I always wanted to make one for those systems. And a few years ago at a game convention, I met a guy who was also working his way to make games for the Nintendo. And so I thought, well, he can do it. I'm going to give it a shot too. And I started making them. Doodle World was the first game. And then we released Doodle World Redrawn, which is kind of a remake of the original one. And now we're getting ready to release Doodle World 2. It's a game about a drawing, a doodle, who's trying to traverse his world. It's a platformer similar to the original Super Mario Brothers game. And basically, he's trying to defeat office supply enemies and get all his crayons back. It's on the NES, and I always publish all my games on physical media. The end goal was always to have a physical release, and to me, that's like the epitome of having an NES game is having the physical cartridge to be able to share with people. A bunch of us developers meet up every year in Milwaukee at a game convention called the Midwest Gaming Classic, and its sole focus is all on retro games and retro systems. And people are really excited about it, and they get really excited when they see a bunch of different developers there with different new NES games. And one of the hard parts at first was I would go to shows and show it off, and people would like it, but they wouldn't necessarily have an NES at home to play it. So eventually that led us to releasing it on the Switch and Steam as well. So people would have another method to play it. So we do have digital copies out there as well.
As roommates, me and Dee share a massive collection of physical media and VHS tapes, Blu-rays, DVDs, CDs. So hearing that their father, Nate, has such an enthusiasm for physical media, in a niche medium especially like NES cartridges, really delighted me. But I think the major highlight of this interview for me was hearing about the inspiration for Nate's Doodle World video game series, which came directly from Nate's 5-year-old daughter.
Our second game was nominated for an Indie Award in the retro game category. And so now she can tell people that she's an award nominated game designer. The concept and the idea came about from our daughter who used to draw these little characters, and I kind of ran with it from there, and she helped me create everything around it.
Hearing Nate's story of turning his passion for video games into a profession, partly as a way to encourage his daughter's creativity, drove me to want to reach out to someone in childhood education. This led to me chatting with Avery, a 24-year-old middle school special education teacher here in Austin.
I love when kids doodle on their work and then I get to like comment on their doodles that they did. That's always fun and I always do that. I have a kid who, instead of doing their work, draws like constantly. And so I don't want to squash their drawing, but I also want them to do their work. And so I try and walk like a really fine line with like promoting their academics, but also their creativity, and like trying to get them to find more of a balance within it so they can do their schoolwork. I don't know. The way that you connect with kids is like, obviously the academics are important, but the way that you connect with them is outside of that. And so I love going to band concerts. I've gone to like every band concert because I love band, and seeing the kids do that. And they, I don't know, they're really passionate about it. And so it's so fun to see kids uh like at like the brink of them becoming like real sentient human beings, like find their passions and try different things on. And so it's really fun to witness that. And I love their creative endeavors. I'm a big cheerleader. Kids often, like in my advisory, will be like making music on their iPads, which I think is really cool, because kids are able to make like whole songs with like drums, guitar, bass, like the whole thing on their iPad. And so I feel like that's really cool. And they also have like, I don't know, through like quizzes or Quizlet, whatever. Kahoot looks completely different now. It's like completely gamified, and I feel like that's like, I don't know, they're able to like make their own games too, and like code their own games, which is like, I don't know. I feel like kids do have access to a lot of creative outlets that wouldn't necessarily be accessible like beforehand, but there are a lot of kids who don't use any of that and are just like, fuck my iPad, and like just like use it as a mirror. So it really just depends on the kid, but it is really cool to see the kids who do really harness it and what they do with it, because it's like really insane. Kids are really impressive.
As someone who struggles sometimes with keeping my creative momentum up now compared to how I did when I was younger, it was really inspiring to talk to three people at different stages in their life and how they managed their professional lives with their creative lives. Nate, being a father, sharing and passing on his passion and creativity with his youngest child. Avery, as a teacher, using her own creativity and guiding the next generation of adults. And Dee, being a recent college graduate, finding an outlet for their writing and creating stories for their friends. During each of their interviews, they imparted on me very profound pieces of final advice for anybody that wants to know their secrets to staying creative as they get older.
Don't think too far ahead. This is something I've learned in being a dungeon master in D&D. It's much easier to write the story that's going to happen today, maybe the one that'll happen next week, but then after that you gotta just like adapt as you go. And I think that's very good for like, it's something I've tried to do in general in life, which is just know at least the next step, but need to be realistic, but I also need to keep momentum.
I think the key is to find the medium that you want to be creative in and stick with it and enjoy that medium, take in all the different forms of that medium and help that to boost your creativity.
I don't know, like normal stuff, like do what you love. If you like, be true to yourself, stick to your gut, and don't be an asshole.